Okay, so let's see how this video is going to work better. I just got word that your other video had no sound to it. So I'll send this out to a link to everybody, which you will know if you find this. Okay, so this is what you're going to be creating. You're going to be creating a base frame of your robot. Um, you're going to create a nice little square frame or rectangular shaped frame here. Going to get some corner brackets put onto it to hold it together. Here's some different little types of brackets there. And we're going to look how that's done here next. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to go to File and New. And you're going to create a new standard assembly, a standard IAM. So let's create that. Next, we're going to go to Place. So we're going to go to Place. First thing we're going to place on our list in our Actobotics folder that you should have downloaded already. That should be wherever you save that to. I placed mine on my desktop. I don't know where you placed yours. So get to that Actobotics folder. The first thing we're going to place is we're going to go some channel. So we're going to go to the folder called channel. You're going to open it up and you're going to scroll down to the length of a 13.5 channel. 13.5 channel, and you're going to place in 4 of those. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now, the first thing, once you place these channels in, we got to get this into an orientation that's a little bit different than that. Our channels right now, these are facing straight up in comparison to the way that I want them to face. I want to be looking from my front of my robot into the C portion, the open portion of this channel. So I'm going to hold Shift and my middle mouse button. I'm going to rotate this around a little bit and get it here in approximately that view when I'm looking at that C. Remember, from there we click on the corner of my block and hopefully I've got it good. And there, that's got it in a nice isometric view, just the way I want it to be. Now I want to be able to go back to this though. So I want to right click on this, go set current view as home to a fixed distance. I was right clicking on that cube. And then next, this that says it's the top view on its side there, I don't want that. I want that to be the front view. So set current view as front. So now I can hit my F6, go back to there, and I'm beautiful with that. Now, next step is I got to ground one of these bars into place. Well, again, I'm going to put my front bar in first, so I'm going to give this in a nice position for my front. Right there looks good. I'm going to right click on it, and I'm going to ground that front bar. Put a check mark on ground. So now when I check that, it's checked ground there, and it's locked in place with that thumbtack. Now I'm going to start constraining this frame together. So I'm just going to go C for constrain. I'm going to mate this end of this bar, and I'm going to mate it right back here. I'm going to spin this around to this back surface of this thing right to there. I'm going to mate that together. I'm going to go ahead and apply and show you what I'm going to do with that. So there's that bar. This bar will slide back and forth on there. I'm going to go ahead and flush the top surface of these. I'm going to go constrain again. I'm going to flush the top surface from there to there. That looks good there. I'm going to apply that. And now I want this C, the open portion of the C, pointing out on this all the way around. So I don't want this bar to go over here, because now this C, the flat portion, is here. The C is open to this position, but I want this to go on this side. So I'm going to constrain it over there, and again, I'm just going to flush this side of those 2 bars. So I'm going to spin that around a little bit, constrain, use flush, and I'm going to flush this portion right there with this portion right there, and apply that. All right, so that's got that one in there good. I'm going to go ahead and continue getting these other bars on. So I'm going to go constrain again. This time I'm going to rotate this around a little bit, get this end of the bar. I'm going to mate that end to that same back-sided over here, apply that. I'm going to switch to flush, and I'm going to flush the top surface of these there. And last but not least, I'm going to flush this end of it over here. So this end here, I'm going to flush with right there. Apply that, and there's that one in there. Looking pretty good. I'm going to rotate this around a little bit, and I'm going to go ahead and continue constraining this. I'm going to constrain the back side of this one to this end of the bar down here. And I'm not going to flush that, I'm going to mate it. So I'm going to change that to mate. I'm going to apply that. Now I do need to flush the top surface. So I'm going to flush this top surface of it with this bar over here. That looks good right there. And now I need to slide this all the way over. So I'm going to flush this end of it. So I'm going to flush this end right there with that right there and apply that. Let me hit my F6 and see what we got. There is a great looking frame put together right there. All those pieces are locked into place and won't move. But however, only the one is grounded. You know that. These others are in there with the constraints. So now, when you're building this robot, Mr. Hernandez next year will really stress this to you, but you can't have just the joints that are put together like this. Obviously, there's nothing holding these joints together. You have to have some brackets holding these together, kind of like I showed you there in the very beginning. We have a lot of different styles of brackets to use. I'm going to show you 3 different ones. So first, we're just going to use, our first bracket is just an angle bracket. So we're going to go back up to place. From place, we're going to go up a level, and I'm going to go to the folder called brackets. Under brackets, I'm going to scroll down and looking at the previews over here to a nice little corner angle bracket. It's called a 90-degree angle bracket. I'm going to go open, and I'm going to place in 2 of those. Now there, I just want you to pick one of the corners to put these in. I'm just going to go ahead and put it in this corner right back here. So the way that these go in there. It lays in there flat. These flat sides of the angle, of the 90-degree angle, lay right into here. So I'm going to start constraining, and I'm going to just mate this surface of it over here to this surface, and mate that right there. Now I got to get to this underneath side down here. So I'm going to rotate this around, and I'm going to get that underside of it, and I'm going to mate it to this other side over here. So I'm going to pick a flat point over there and apply that. All right. Now I'm just going to hit F6 to put it back into a normal view there. Now the easiest way to do this is first pull it up here out of the way a little bit. So I'm going to pull it up there so I can see all of my holes nicely. Now I'm going to use constraint. This time I'm going to constrain the center of this hole. So I'm going to come in here, see and notice where that center line shows up right there. I'm going to constrain that center line, that axis, to this axis. Now when you hover over the edge of it, the surface of it is where it gives you the axis. I'm going to click there. And that puts that bracket right into place there. And that bracket is now locked in. It's mated in all 3 directions. Or sorry, not mated, constrained. So now I'm going to do the same thing with this bracket. I'm going to click that surface of it. Click there. Apply that. Rotate this around again upside down like I did just a moment ago. That surface over there and mate it together. Apply that. Again, I'm going to close this out. Pull this out of the way a little ways, and now I'm going to continue with my constraining my hole. So I'm going to go with this center line of that hole right there, and I'm going to put that center line right here with this one, and I'll slide it right up into place. Once again, I'm going to hit my F6 to get that back into normal, and right there is that corner all bracketed together nicely. Now, what I'm going to tell you here is the same thing Mr. Hernandez will tell you next year also, is each corner that you put together, each 2 pieces, each 2 bars that you put together, you want to have a minimum of 2 ways of connecting that together. So for example, just one of these corner brackets in here would not cut it. Both of the corner brackets in there would probably be acceptable. Now you could put other brackets, so I'm going to show you here in a moment, and do it better than that, but a minimum of 2 brackets fastening together your joints is going to be required. If you don't do that, your corners are just not going to fit together, and your robot will not be very stable or very steady. Your joints are just going to flex a lot. So that's one way of doing a corner. Let's go ahead and look at another way. So I'm going to go place once again. This time in my list of brackets, I'm just going to go with that top choice, the 3 by 1.5. And I'm going to place in 2 of those. Okay. For those, it's just a flat bracket that sits up here on the top surface. So I'm going to go to another corner and do it over here. I'm going to do this corner. So I'm going to mate that surface of it to just the top surface of that and apply that. There you go. So now once again, it's a little bit easier if we pull this off to the side a little bit. Now I'm going to put this center of that hole, large hole, to the center of that hole. So I'm going to go constrain, center line there, to that center line there, and apply that. Now I want you to see what this bracket does when we do that. Notice how it rotates and spins around. Here it's a little bit easier if I rotate it off of the axis. So I'm going to rotate it over to there. I'm going to do my last constraint. I'm going to constrain the center of this hole with the center of that one and apply that. There, that bracket is connected in all three directions, or constrained in all three directions. Now, once again, I'm going to put this other bracket, and I'm going to put it on the bottom side. So I'm going to mate that side of the bracket to the underneath side down here, and apply that. This one's off surface a little bit, or off center a little bit, so it's going to be pretty easy to do from that center of that circle to the center of, come on, that circle, and apply it. Now again, on this last one, it's easier to rotate this a little bit to the side and constrain one more time. So that surface to there, or that center line to that center line, and apply that. Okay, so now I do have that bracket on the bottom and that bracket on the top. So again, at least two ways of connecting this joint together, of these two bars together. Okay, so that's got that. Let me show you one more real quick. I'm going to go place. This one is not in the brackets folder. It is in the coupler folder. No, not the coupler. Pattern mounts folder. So in the pattern mounts, we have these two different ones. We have the pattern mount C and pattern mount D. C is one that you put a through bolt through, so you bolt through it and put a nut on this side. D is one that's tapped. These holes are tapped. We're going to put the tapped one in there. It's a little bit easier. So I'm just going to place in one of those. Now what this is made to do is it's made to go right here in the end of this piece. But right now it's hard to get to that end of that piece, hard to see where I'm doing it. So I'm going to do one thing here first off. I want to disconnect this bar from it real quick. So I'm going to highlight that bar. I'm going to come over here to my bar where it's highlighted here. I'm going to hit my plus sign. And I'm going to look at these different constraints. Now that one locks in the surface of it. That's good. That one's flushes there. That's good. That one. That's the one that's holding that into place so it can't move. I'm going to get rid of that. I'm going to go delete and delete out that constraint for a second. Now that lets me slide this whole thing out. It slides the whole assembly out there, but that's fine. And now I can put this bracket in there nice and easily. I'm going to go constrain. First thing I'm going to constrain is I'm going to mate this surface where this hole is right to there and apply that in place. So now that bracket's in there. Now the way that these holes line up is I'm going to line up the center of this hole with this hole here. So I'm going to go constrain, center line of that hole, lined up right there with that hole, and apply that. Now, again, this rotates around here on that. My bar moves back and forth a little bit too, but that's okay. I'm going to constrain the center of this hole to that one and apply that. So now, this bracket is in there, locked into place, and now what I need to do is just put it in a place where it goes here onto this. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to take the center of this large hole, constrain the center of that large hole to the center of this large hole. I have to rotate that a little bit and apply that. So there we go. I've got that one bracket into place right there, holding this joint together. So that bracket here would be bolted together, holding that together. So what I want you to do now for this is you've seen three different kinds of brackets. This one has one bracket holding it together. As I told you a moment ago, I want you to have two, minimum of two ways of fastening this corner together. I want you to put another bracket there, whether it's a corner bracket or whether it's a flat bracket. I don't care. Finish this one up with two brackets holding it together. On this side, there are no brackets holding it together. Again, I don't care. Pick a combination, connect this one together in a different fashion than what you have your other corners. So this one has two flat brackets, this has two corner brackets, this has that little end plate and something else. Do this with whatever you choose. I don't care. Now, that's all you're going to do. You're going to finish out those brackets. Then to turn this in for a grade, I want you to submit this onto Student View, the same way you've done assignments all throughout the year. Submit this to Student View. One snipping of the overall drawing of this, and then another snipping, one of each of the corners. So this corner, I want to have a nice little tight snipping of just this corner brackets, and so I can see those brackets and see how you fasten this corner together. And then I want you to rotate it around and do me a snipping of this corner right there. In that view, I can see the top and bottom brackets on there. However you fasten those together, do it that way. There are instructions there on Student View on how to do this also and what snippings are required. A grand total of 5 snippings. Good luck.